Okay, this is Jimmy Jive, and you're listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today, my guest is from an iconic band from back in the 80s that I went and saw a couple times. Stuff that really dug, had a really good theme to what they were playing, really good musicianship, wore costumes, and did a lot of monster-type stuff. It was really cool, really entertaining. My guest today is the one and only Creepy Rick from the 3D Invisibles. Hey, Rick, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great, Jimmy. Thanks for having me here.
No problem, man. My pleasure. Tell me a little bit about where the band started, what area you guys were from and how you came up with the concept of the band.
Well, we were in kind of like the northern suburbs, Troy, Clawson area.
Yeah.
Chris and I lived basically on the same block. Our houses were back to back. So Chris is the bass player.
Yeah.
So that's how I got to know him. And, we grew up listening to the music of the 60s and 70s. And then when the punk rock movement happened, we were both kind of drawn to that and wanted to do something that, was going along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And then the monster sci-fi thing, it kind of just crept in there. It was stuff we were both interested in. I was a big fan of Screaming Lord Sutch, who was someone that I discovered right around that time.
Oh, cool.
Who did horror rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of an influence for the direction. And, we loved the Sir Grace Ghastly monster movies and that kind of stuff. So that seeped into what we were doing too.
Now, that's very cool. The band itself, where did you have a certain area that you played the most? I mean, you mentioned Clawson, that you were from Clawson.
Yeah, there's really no place to play in Clawson. But,
right.
So we did our first show was at Bookie's. That was in 1981.
Wow.
Then we played Paychecks, the Hamtramck Pub, reruns, and then there were other clubs that I can't remember right now that were just kind of popped up as having punk nights or new wave nights.
Right.
There's a lot of that going on the red carpet.
A lot of bars back then that unfortunately aren't around anymore, man. That's as far as the band went, you recorded some music. How many recordings do you remember having? I mean, like I was telling you earlier, I remember you having at least a 45 out. Did you actually do a full album?
Yeah, we did. We did a couple 7-inches when we started off. First one was Love on Mars, Monster Island. Then we did the Put On Your Glasses EP, which was a 5-song EP. And then we did 3 albums after that. Jump Off the Screen, Vampires A Go-Go, and They Won't Stay Dead. And this was throughout the 80s.
Yeah.
Jump Off the Screen came out in 86. And They Won't Stay Dead, I think, was 89.
Are any of these available anywhere like Spotify or anything like that? Are you guys on any kind of streaming service?
Bandcamp. We've got everything up on Bandcamp.
Okay.
And we've got some copies of the LPs if looking for the hard copies. The first and the third. We've been out of Vampires to Go-Go for a while, but we do have Jump Off the Screens and They Won't Stay Dead.
Are those vinyl copies or do you have them on CD?
Vinyl. Yeah.
Vinyl.
Those are all on vinyl.
Cool.
We never did CDs of these, kind of before the old CD boom.
That's so cool because, of course, that was what everybody did in those days. It was all vinyl. And that was that. Cassettes a bit. But vinyl was the way to go. And I know a lot of bands put out 7-inch. Did you guys play much outside of the Metro Detroit area?
Yeah, a little bit. We never really did any full-on touring, but we played like Cleveland and Chicago. Played at CBGB once.
Oh, you did CBGB? Wow.
So just kind of regionally.
Now, did you? How was your response How was the response of the audience to some of these shows that were out of state that people may not have known who you were? How did that go?
Right. Generally pretty good, but get a little better response in our hometown with people that are familiar with what we're trying to do. But I don't remember ever having a negative reaction.
Oh, well, that's cool. That's always a plus. Yeah. And as for the characters in the band, they're obviously based off, sci-fi monsters. How did you come up with your particular persona of Creepy Rick? How did that come about?
Well, it's just kind of, like I said, I was a big Screaming Lord Sutch fan, so slightly modeled after him, and horror movie hosts, and I would just imagine kind of a rock and roll horror movie host kind of thing, drawing from different horror influences.
Wow, that is so cool, man. Because like I said, I remember you guys would come out there in costumes and stuff and do this kind of vampire-y thing and all that. With a lot of the songs. And
the costumes are definitely a part of it, selling the whole thing.
Yeah, you really much got to do that, and that I think must have helped set you apart as far as that at the time, because most of the bands would just come out with, whatever they had, and didn't do much as far as, stage presentation. And it's groups like you guys that would do that to me anyway stood out, and there's only a handful. I mentioned like Halloween, of course they had the big production, but at any scale that you can do that kind, where did you do most of your recordings of this? What studios did you record?
Well, the 3 albums were all done at the Temper Mill with Dave Feeney. I remember where the 7 inches were done. Some of those, we went to, I think those, now that I'm thinking of it, we went to a place in Ohio called the Recording Workshop, and it was like a school for, recording engineers.
Right.
And so they would just bring bands in, give them a free studio session, so that they would have some guinea pigs that the students could learn on.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
And I think that's where we did Put On Your Glasses, the second EP that we did. I don't quite remember where we did the first single. That might have been at a studio around town.
Did you get a break on the price since you were kind of like a guinea pig?
Yeah, no, it didn't cost us anything.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, right. They just needed something for the students to record, so they would offer bands, to give a free recording session.
That's awesome, because that would have been rare in those days anywhere.
Yeah, right.
It cost big money to record then, and most of the bands that I knew of, including us, we were always trying to do it ourselves on a 4-track reel-to-reel, and
sure,
because it could be expensive to do something at
that
level.
Yeah, especially when you're a struggling band. You're making $35 for a show. And,
so you were in that same boat, eh? Making that kind of
playing
for the door.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Now, watching some of these videos and all that, and one of them that really was really cool, Cool Ghoul, and some of these others that were looked like they were actually filmed in the actual graveyard. Was that the case?
Yep, it was.
And where would that have been?
The one I remember we have a video called Walking Through the Graveyard, and there's a graveyard, I think it's in Troy, around Big Beaver, 15 mile along. I don't remember if it's along Crook or something, but we went in there guerrilla style and set up. The cops took notice of it, so as in the middle of our shooting, the cops showed up, and we had to break it up. I'm pretty sure in the video there's a shot of the cop car driving by checking us out.
Did you not have permission
to
be there?
Fun. What's that?
Did you not have permission to be there? Is that why?
No. They were cool. They didn't arrest us or anything.
So you weren't doing anything.
They didn't want
weird.
a bunch of guys in scary makeup dancing around in a cemetery.
Yeah.
There might be some public reaction to that.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I mean, your videos were always really cool. And did you guys do them yourself, or did you have somebody do it for you?
The first one was done by a guy named Chris Gore that I worked with when I worked at Thomas Video. And he's an independent filmmaker. He ran a magazine called Film Threat. He shot that and edited it. The Google video was done by Chris's wife Carmel, who's a video editor. So she shot that and edited it for us.
Yeah, because the stuff is really cool, and the production, especially for having been done at that time, was really good. It was it was really killer. It was like wow.
Thanks. Yeah, it was real DIY, and we were fortunate that we didn't have to pay either of these people to do it for us. They were just into it to do it. So like we talked about the money before, for recording, it applies to putting together a video as well.
Right. Now, did you get that video played anywhere? I remember there was a show called The Beat. Were you guys ever on that show, or low cable shows to play these videos?
A specific incident isn't coming to my memory. It must have popped up on 1 or 2 public access shows or things like that.
Because I would have thought for sure these videos and the whole theme of the band would have been picked up by somebody who did one of those late night, monster movie kind of things. Because you guys would have fit in perfect with that. I mean, So Grave with Gaslights was obviously before your time. You would have been a kid like me when that was on. But there were several others came along, like Elvira had a show, and I think Ghoul and all that. Did you guys ever try and approach that kind of shows to get involved with that?
We didn't. As I recall, we didn't.
That's too bad, because it would have been perfect for it. It would have been perfect for it.
You might think.
Now, as to the clubs you played, you mentioned Paycheck. Were there particular ones that you liked playing at better than others? In other words,
we played at Lily's a lot. That became a regular hang-up for us for a while. We did more than a couple Halloween shows there.
Okay.
So that might have been one of our favorite spots. We did Paychecks a lot as well.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's where I saw you. Now, speaking of Lily's, how was it getting gigs at that bar? That was like the only place, and I mentioned this to a few other people, that for some reason we couldn't get booked in there. And I was told it was kind of click bars getting hired there or whatever.
Well, I guess I must have been in the clique or something. Because, I dealt with Art Lysak there.
Yes.
He handled the booking. He was always open to having us in there. So.
Yeah, because Karen had mentioned that he was doing the bookings for the bands, and he was a little particular about that, because we just wanted to get a gig. We weren't looking to get a headline gig. Hell, we'd open up for anybody any night. Back in those days, we were playing Wednesdays and Thursdays and whenever we could get a gig. But for some reason, there was something about that place that we couldn't get into. We had no problems anywhere else but Lily's. So that's why I was wondering if you guys, if you had to do anything special to get in there. Play on a Tuesday night. And clean dishes afterwards.
Right. Work your way up.
Which I understand a pecking order as far as that. Yeah. You guys were definitely on that, on that list. Elvis Hitler was another one that, we played with Elvis a few times. Okay. And some of those other bands at that time. We played with, our first gig, we played with the Mystery Girls, who of course became the Jump Monkeys.
Yeah, sure.
It was a totally different time as far as that. Now, did you guys have your own, your own sound equipment, or were you coming in pretty much using all the club stuff, or did you have your own sound man?
We didn't have a PA, and I don't think we ever had a sound man either, so we were relying on the club for the PA and the sound man, but we had our own amps and
obviously. What kind of equipment were you guys using? To do that, create that kind of sound?
I started out using I had a black-faced twin reverb that I used for a few decades, and then the guitar that I play most is a Hallmark Sweepwing. That's just a pretty obscure guitar from the 60s. That's kind of a batwing shape to it.
I saw that. That is so cool looking.
I really lucked into that. I found it in a guitar shop and nabbed it for a really cheap price.
Oh, cool.
At the time, nobody knew what it was. We cared about some cheap weirdo junky guitar, but now that kind of stuff is, big bucks.
Yeah, it's rare. People are always looking for that kind of stuff now that stick out, because everybody back then was typically playing Les Pauls or
Les Pauls and Strats,
that kind of thing. It's a go-to guitar. What about your amps? What kind of amps were you guys using?
I had that black-faced twin reverb. Don't remember what Chris was using for bass.
What did you say you had?
Black-faced Fender twin reverb.
Oh, Fender twin reverb. Yeah, and you played a few people.
That was a great amp. Any black-faced Fender is a pretty good amp, but I just found after a while it was too big for most rooms. I couldn't turn it up to a point where it sounded good without hurting.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny how you get to a point where it's like, oh man, now I gotta like scale it down a bit.
Yeah. Well, it was just too clean at a reasonable volume. I needed something that had a little more gain in it. Not that I play with super high gain sound, but it was just too blinky clean.
Oh, so you weren't using like distortion pedals in here?
I would use a pedal for solos.
Now, were you guys always a three-piece?
Yeah.
And mention who the other players are in the band again.
Well, there's my the bass player Chris Flanagan, who's been with it since the beginning. We had several drummers. First drummer was Brad Koenig, who sadly died in a car accident maybe a year or so after he had joined the band. Then we had. We tried a couple other guys on the interim, but we ended up with a guy that Chris had gone to school with named Matt Giroux, who played for a number of years. I think he's on all those albums, the early 7 inches too.
So you guys are still playing now, obviously,
and we've since. I just mentioned we since have another drummer, Bill Bowen is the current drummer. Bill moved in around late 80s, early 90s probably, and he's been with us ever since.
So have you been playing pretty consistently since the 80s then?
At least around in October, we always do a show or two in October, and occasionally things will pop up throughout in other parts of the year that we do.
Right.
Chris and I have been involved with a number of other bands
Okay.
that we keep going. We've got a surf band called the Volcanoes, kind of a spaghetti western band called the Hellbenders. Our recent thing is kind of like a garage thing called the Flipsters.
Oh, okay.
So, we keep busy with those throughout the year as well.
Right. So you pretty much pull out the 3D Invisibles when it's the time is right. In other words, the season or something. Tie in with the theme. Well, that's cool, man. There's nothing wrong with having side projects.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that you're still doing this, kudos to you, man, because it got real tiring hauling gear around all these places and all that.
Sure. It's
making, like you said, $35 here,
right?
That, and of course, most recently in a lot of these places, the bands aren't even getting paid. They're like opening acts for semi-national acts, and you're just supposed to play because it's an honor to be there. So it just makes it that much tougher to make any money at.
Yep.
Have you been
that
up
way for a
against
while.
that? You think of the whole change as far as the industry with going from, I don't mean just vinyl to CDs, but the fact that music now is so accessible through YouTube, Spotify, the different streaming sites, so people aren't necessarily buying music anymore.
Yep, it's definitely changed. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Artists should be paid for their work.
Right.
But there's just this, I think in more, maybe even more so in younger generations, there's just this attitude that everything should be free. Put everything on the internet. I'm not going to pay for something. But, what are you going to do?
Are you drawing a newer generation to some of your shows? Are you noticing some of the younger people maybe coming to it, discovering it?
Some. I mean, I think that our core is the same crowd that we've been playing to since the 80s. A lot of those same people have stuck with us, and that's pretty cool to see.
Oh, yeah.
But there's younger people popping in, definitely.
Really cool, because right now it's very nostalgic. It's always been nostalgic, but a nostalgic time where a lot of people are reflecting on this, and they're trying to get their kids into the older rock, the older this, the older that, and rediscovering bands that, were around and, were doing pretty darn well, at least it appeared to be, because they've been playing a lot. And you guys seem to be playing a lot, at least in those days.
Yeah, we did. We got pretty busy.
Which is, the way to do it. I really dig your music, and I'm hoping to come out to that show, because I haven't been to the Redford Theatre in years. And to see you guys play again, especially under that atmosphere, for a setup like that. Was that something that you had just been approached by just out of the blue to do that, or had you done that before with them?
No. We did play. There was a Ghoul Memorial show there invited into, and so we played that, and then so that they kind of knew us from that, I guess, and the guy that was promoting it came up with this idea of having us play before a 3D movie, which is like, that sounds pretty cool to me.
Yeah, it is.
For a band like us.
Well, any band, but it definitely fits your persona.
Sure, because that's where all our inspirations come from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sci-fi and horror movies.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm not going to keep you anymore. I really appreciate talking with you and all that.
All right.
And doing what you're doing and stuff. And like I said, I want to come out and see you. Any plans as far as future releases? Any kind of...
This is kind of a back burner idea. It might happen, but nothing immediately. Nothing in the very near future.
Nothing as far as anything live or anything like that, other than what would be shot and put on YouTube?
No, probably not.
Think about it, man. You need to get another album out, man. The time is right, man. The 3D Invisibles need to be back. Be back in a big way.
All right, Jimmy.
I know enough people, man, that still dig you and all that introduced me to it. And,
good to hear.
And told me, you got to check these guys out. Call up Creepy Rick, get an interview with him. And I said, all right, we'll do that, man. Because like I said, really dug your band. Listening to the music again brings back a lot of good memories, man. Of a good time.
Cool, Jimmy. I appreciate you seeking me out and to do this. It's great talking with you.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks so much, and you have a good night, man.
All right, you too, Jimmy.
Take care.
Take care.
Right.
Bye.
Well, that was Creepy Rick from the 3D Invisibles. What an awesome, spooky kind of theatrical act that they were and still are. And they're playing this October the 21st at the Redford Theatre. Check it out, man. You won't be disappointed, because they are one cool garage surf punk band. And as I like to say, keep rocking.